A very warm welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are in good. Today is 24th July 2020. Today is Friday. I would like to start today's discussion with this quote by Robert Frost. In 3 words, I can sum up everything I have learned about life. It goes on. With this, dear friends, StudyIQ team has designed a smart course. This smart course is for Civil Services Examination. It covers your pre as well as mains examination, and to find out more about it, all you have to do is download our mobile application on your phone. You can follow me on Facebook. You can download the PDF of today's lecture from my Telegram channel. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Dear friends, if you have subscribed to our YouTube channel, then can I request you guys to ask 3 more students to do the same. On our table, we have 3 articles from the Hindu newspaper. All 3 of them are associated with international relations. And then we have one from Times of India. This one is about Personal Data Protection Bill. And then we have some news items to go through. So let me start with this topic, deepening India-South Korea ties. South Korea. A very beautiful country, right? When I say beautiful, I mean to say that it's not about natural beauty, but in terms of culture as well. And if you go through its success story, then South Korea is a true inspiration. On your screen, this is the flag of South Korea. And here you can see this is South Korea here, or this is North Korea, this portion here, this whole country, this region is South Korea. Official name is Republic of Korea, but we call it South Korea. It is quite famous as South Korea. If you go back in the history of Korean Peninsula, then this region was under the control of Japan, Imperial Japan, and after that it got independence, and then there was a war between North Korea and South Korea. It is known as Korean War, and it started back in 1950. And it lasted till this war, proper war, fighting lasted till 1953. Officially, the war is not over, but they are not fighting at present, but they are still not in a very good shape. When I say shape, I mean to say the relationship. North Korea and South Korea relationship are not that great. It's like India and Pakistan, something similar to that. Different challenges, but hostile relationship, you can say. The good thing about South Korea is that back in 1950s, it was not doing that great. It was a very poor country. At present, it is one of the richest countries in the world. In last 40, 50, 60 years, it has done outstanding progress, growth as well as development. I was going through a few, I think I read this thing in a book or article, can't remember. It's been maybe 2-3 years now, but or more than that, I'm not sure. But I know this thing for sure, that in 60s and 70s, political leaders of South Korea, they were quite fascinated by they were in this journey, they were in this quest to know what we can do, what South Korea can do to change its economical situation. And then leaders started having a thorough discussion, brainstorming session with business leaders. At that point of time, they were not that big business leaders. Business leaders were there, but they were not that big as they are today. So they started discussing this discussion, and they started learning from countries like Japan. They made Japan their guru. They made USA their guru, and they learned so many things from companies of USA's companies and Japanese companies. And today, South Korea is market leader in various different sectors. If not market leader, then its presence is such that you cannot ignore South Korean companies like Hyundai when it comes to cars. When it comes to gadgets, home appliances, you have Samsung, you have LG, and these 3 brands are household name in our country. These 3 companies are from South Korea. And there are so many other companies as well. They are not household name. They do mainly B2B, that is business to business dealings. So they are not famous. They are not famous household name, but at various different levels they are very famous. One more thing that I would like to add about South Korea is their time management. If the deal is, if the contract is that they will deliver a particular product on, let's say, 1st August 2020, then you will definitely get that thing before 1st August. You will get it on the 2nd or 3rd week of July 2020. Generally speaking, this is how they work, right? They are very good in time management. So this is something that we can learn from South Korea. Okay, now this topic I have given you a brief about South Korea, and I believe you have got enough points in front of you to get a big picture of this country called South Korea. Now when it comes to relationship with this India and South Korea relationship, then we find that we are still not at our peak. And the sad thing is, when you know that these two countries can do so many things together, and when you find that their annual trade is just $22 billion, then this is disappointing. This is disappointing for both nations, and both nations they have to invest more in this relationship. When it comes to defense partnership, it is just a sale and purchase thing. It should be far higher than that, just not limited to sale and purchase. Then we can add, both nations should be developing, you can say, joint development of weapons, doing joint research and development, right? Learning from each other. So these are the things we need to do with each other. Naval exercises and other exercises. So at various different levels, when it comes to defense partnership, there are so many things that we can do, but we are not doing it. And the main reason is lack of people-to-people contact. This is one of the most important things. When it comes to relationship with any country, keep this thing in mind. It's not your boundary, it's not your interests, right? It is always, the base is people-to-people contact. If, let's say, UK and India. Now, people of UK and people of India, they have worked with each other. We have joint history, and you know, we are there, they are here. Mostly means Indian. So many Indian people, they are living in UK, Canada, USA, Australia, various different countries, and they marry people. They have this matrimonial relationship with people of UK, Canada, etc. So then they work at various different levels as well. So they are part of their society. It's not like people from our country, they go there, they make money and they come back. It's not just that. It is more than that. Now they are part of their society. So this is something that we find missing when it comes to South Korea and India. There are cultural prejudices on both sides. And without this people-to-people contact, we cannot take this relationship to next level or to its top level. One important thing that I want you guys to pay attention to is, as in any relationship, mutual respect regarding cultural values is the key to building a robust partnership between two countries. When it comes to two individuals, when it comes to two societies, when it comes to two nations, right? Respecting each other, respecting each other's cultural values. If we can do that thing, then you can take this relationship to a next level. The only thing we can do to get rid of these prejudices is provide proper right amount of information. There is an information gap when it comes to India-South Korea relationship. In South Korea, we find racial prejudice or discrimination towards Indian people, and there are so many South Koreans, they have had bad experience in India. So it's not just that our people are facing discrimination in South Korea. Many South Korean people, they have faced something similar in our country as well. In our country, we are quite aware about, or we have reasonable information about Chinese culture. I believe we know many things about Japanese culture as well. But when it comes to Korean culture, we are not that much aware about it. And this is an opportunity for both nations, for South Korea to educate the people of India about South Korea. And we too have to do the same. The good news is that 10 years ago there was this Indian Cultural Center, ICC, was established in Seoul, that is the capital of South Korea, and they used to organize this dance classes and teaching South Indian dances and offering Indian cuisines over there. So these are good things, right? I would say this is a good start. But this will be limited to those elite people who are genuinely interested in learning about so many different countries. What about history of India and South Korea, or teaching history of India, about values of India? Then you can have yoga centers over there. There are other things as well. Let's say not just in Seoul or big cities. How about films, right? Films play a very important role. There are so many countries, like European countries. Poland, I was quite surprised to know that actors like Shah Rukh Khan and others, they are quite famous in Poland. I was again very surprised to know this thing from Indian ambassador to Japan. I forgot the name of the madam, but she said this thing that Rajnikant is very famous in Japan in one of her interview. So films play a very important role. So we need to get more Indian films getting a place in South Korean theaters. We find so many South Korean films, like remakes of South Korean films in our country. There are few, and they are quite famous as well. Can't remember the names, but yes, there have been many remakes of South Korean films in our country. So we need to do these things so that we can build a bridge. Cultural bridge is one of the most important things. We can build a cultural bridge between both nations. And the reason why we need to do it is because in long term, balance of power means, as we all know, that balance of power is changing. And China is behaving very aggressively with various different neighbors. So we need all Asian democracies on one page. And we cannot just have, China is not the only reason. It is also about democracy. It's also about peace and so many other things. But if we don't know each other very well, then that gap will be there. We will shake hand, but that warmth will not be there. So for that, we need to create people-to-people relationship. People-to-people contact should be good or solid, right? So I hope things are clear to you. It's not just about South Korea and India, but we are also talking about diplomacy, which is very important for your overall understanding. Moving on to next one. This is again not that difficult to understand, because regular students, I'm sure all the points that you find on your screen, and this whole discussion, S. Jaishankar, who is our External Affairs Minister, I'm sure you know that earlier on he used to be IFS officer, he was Foreign Secretary of our country, he has worked as Indian ambassador to China, if I'm not wrong, but definitely he has worked as Indian ambassador to USA, and then he was elevated to Foreign Secretary level, and now today he is Foreign Minister or External Affairs Minister of our country. Now he was discussing foreign policy and global politics, geopolitics and things like that, and he said that India's worldview in the face of global challenges, many of which pull it in different directions. He said that he basically presented India's worldview, that what India is and how India sees, various different things that we like this whole China issue. And before China issue, there was this. Okay, let me start with this thing. Remember a few days ago, we were talking about this USS Enterprise, that back in 1971, USA sent its then biggest aircraft carrier to protect Pakistan. I'm talking about this India-Pakistan war, and then this Bangladesh, the birth of Bangladesh, 1971. And just a few days ago, we were talking about this thing that back in 1971, if someone would have read news at that point of time, he or she would think that India and USA can never be good friends, isn't it? That USA is always supporting Pakistan. But in 2020, things are different. India and USA means just recently there, USS Nimitz was here, but it was here for a friendly exercise with India. So when it comes to international relationship, when it comes to geopolitics, there are no permanent friends, there are no permanent enemies, right? Time is most important thing, and based on given time, you will decide your interests. I hope things are clear to you. These are some basic, very profound things that you should know. There is no permanent enemy of our country. At present, it looks like India. At present, it looks like this Pakistan and China are two biggest enemies of our country. Yes, true. But who knows, after 5 years or 10 years, they can be our best buddies as well. Today, it looks like Israel, France, these nations, Japan, etc. are our good friends. After 50 years, the things can be different. You never know. So it all depends. And you need to have this flexibility. You need to have this autonomy. Autonomy, that means your independence, that you can take independent decision as a country. That it's not necessary that you will stick under someone else's umbrella, like big nations, powerful nations like USA. So back in starting from late 1940s, Cold War. I'm sure you know things about Cold War, but let me throw some brief light on this topic. Cold War. It all started between USA and USSR. And this was about a cutthroat competition, that who is the most powerful country and which country is going to rule the world. So they were competing each other, like economical, defense, social, geopolitics, space, right? In various different sectors, they were in cutthroat competition. So there were so many countries that were part of USA's team. There were countries that were part of USSR team. But India and other countries, they said that we have just came out from this whole colonialism thing. And we don't want any powerful country. We don't want to stick under your umbrella. We would like to stay independent. So India and other countries together, they formed this group called Non-Aligned Movement. So S. Jaishankar has said that non-aligned movement at that point of time, it was important, but at present it is not that important. And that does not mean that India has completely rejected NAM or non-alignment. But at present, India would like to take some more risks, right? India would like to play a very important role in connectivity, maritime security, terrorism, as well as climate change, because today's time requires India to take a stand. He also said that India has never been part of an alliance system, and nor will it ever be. We have good relationship with USA, that's a good thing, but that does not mean that USA is our leader and we are their subordinate. We see USA as equal partner. This is a very important thing to understand. It's not like USA is, of course USA is a powerful country, but that does not mean that USA is our boss. We see USA as a partner, not as a sort of savior, not a sort of a leader, like we are following the lead of USA. No, we have our own independent mind, we have our own independent thinking, and we will take independent decisions. So that's what India's stand is. I hope this is the main core of this whole discussion, and I missed this message from S. Jaishankar, and I hope you have decoded it. Mr. S. Jaishankar explained that while non-alignment worked for India during Cold War era, but the US and Soviet between the US and Soviet Union, the fact that India and China share a land boundary would always be a factor in new Cold War between USA and China. And when it comes to defense cooperation, yes, we are developing good relationship with USA. We are doing growing maritime collaboration. But when it comes to land, I don't think so India will allow USA's army to enter our land, because once they are here, then it's very difficult to get rid of them. Then he also talked about this recent visit of Rajnath Singh to Moscow. He talked about Russia, India, China trilateral meeting in which Mr. S. Jaishankar participated, and he said that a time of crisis often clarifies priorities. So when we are in crisis, our priorities are quite clear to us, isn't it? So that's something that's going on at present. Like on one side we have pandemic, on the other side we are going through this Chinese aggression. So at present our priorities are very clear, that the things that we want to do, we are clear about it. Moving on to next item, this is important for the whole world. Escalating tensions. You know it very well that it all started with the trade war, and behind this trade war, the undercurrent is technological war. Which country is going to be most advanced in technology? Because it is believed that a country that is going to be, right at the top table or at the very top of technology, that country is going to make the most money in forthcoming future, and that country is going to be in terms of defense as well, very powerful. So there is this competition going on, tech cold war between USA and China, and now tensions are escalating. China's consulate in Houston, US has decided to close it down, and this is a new level in their escalation or their tensions. Trump administration has accused consulate and Chinese diplomatic mission officials that they are engaged in economic espionage. They are doing visa fraud, and they are also stealing our scientific research. USA has also applied restrictions on student visas from China, imposed sanctions on Chinese officials over a Hong Kong security law, and is reportedly considering a sweeping ban on millions of members of China's ruling Communist Party. Since the tariff war that President Trump launched, one thing that is quite interesting is that China has always retaliated. This means that China is here for a long game. China is not going to sit down. If you do something, that China is going to react. And we have to understand this thing, and this is the most important thing for you guys, that the US-China tensions are no longer about trade and technology. Trade and technology are branches, or you can say part of this whole this USA versus China thing. But now it is more about domination. Which country is going to win, USA or China? But remember this thing. This is a cyclical trap. USA will do something, China will retaliate. China will do something, USA will retaliate. So it will get bigger and bigger, right? And this is not good news for the world, because these two nations are the biggest economies of the world. At present, the whole world is already going through recession sort of thing because of this pandemic lockdowns. And now you find these two nations are fighting with each other. Their whole tensions, they have escalated. So this is a bad news for the whole world. Last one is about Personal Data Protection Bill, Ministry of Electronics and IT. Remember on 29 June we have banned some 59 Chinese mobile apps. Now this particular article is talking about Data Protection Authority, DPA. Now it's not just Chinese mobile apps that they are using or collecting our data. There are so many other app companies, they are also collecting our data. But we have this is all geopolitical thing that we have banned Chinese apps, and it's necessary as well, because on the other side we know what they are doing at LSC, that is line of actual control. The Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 entrusts the DPA, and this article is more about this DPA, that is Data Protection Authority. Now why we need a DPA? Because if we want to protect personal data of our citizens, if we want to protect their right to privacy, then we need to have an authority. We need to have DPA that is independent, that is impartial. If you see EU, then EU will share data with you only if you have a sort of DPA or this data protection authority in your country that is independent. If you have DPA and if it is not independent, then EU will not share data with you. So we need an independent DPA. The problem is that the bill, the latest data protection bill, It says that this means a consultation with DPA, and the central government has power to notify categories of sensitive personal data in consultation with DPA. But this is not enough. What we need is DPA should have all the powers rather than central government being on board. The second thing is that the center is under this section 86 of the bill. Central government can issue binding directions to DPA without any prior consultation. So basically this is something, this section 86 is going to be abused by politicians. They are going to issue this sort of things, orders, and they are going to sabotage DPA. We don't need that. While the power to notify certain large data fiduciaries as significant data fiduciaries rests solely with DPA, the center has been given the power in consultation with the authority to notify social media intermediaries as significant data fiduciaries, thereby diluting DPA's power. So interference from central government is something that we need to remove from this bill. Data fiduciaries at all level, so central government, your state government, your panchayats, private parties, all will be called data fiduciaries. And we need to have a decentralized body at your panchayat level as well. DPA should be there. If we create a big building of DPA at Delhi and we think like we will protect the privacy of all our citizens, then this is not how it will work. We need to make it famous. We need to make it available at various different levels of our country. And we need to have a collegial body. We need to have full-time, part-time, independent members. They should be coming from various different backgrounds: judiciary, civil society, persons of ability, integrity and standing in the field of data protection, technology and regulation. You need to have stakeholders from industry, trade associations, departments of government and others. Together they need to formulate rules and regulation. And then when it comes to data, the actions taken by DPA, everything should be available online. Everything should be available with just a few clicks. Rather than filing RTIs, DPA should publish results of its inspections and inquiries and other things. Lastly, the bill confers absolute discretion to the center for deciding the number of adjudicating officers. It should be done by DPA. We have to keep this thing in mind, that any law or policy is as good as its enforcement. If law is not that great but enforcement is good, then you will see positive results. If you have drafted a very good law but implementation is not proper, then you won't see any sort of benefit or not that many benefits. So it's all about enforcement. Good law with good enforcement is the key. With this, dear friends, news items on your screen. Government has imposed restrictions on public procurement from countries which share a land border with India to strengthen the defense and national security. The Department of Expenditure in a detailed order said the government has amended General Financial Rules 2017 to enable imposition of restrictions on bidders from countries which share a land boundary with India on grounds of defense of India or matters directly or indirectly related thereto, including national security. The External Affairs Ministry has said respecting and strictly abiding by the LSE is the basis of peace and tranquility in the border areas. Anurag Srivastava said several agreements concluded by India and China since 1993 firmly acknowledges this. He said the conduct of Chinese forces this year, including the deployment of large bodies of troops and changes in behavior accompanied by unjustified and untenable claims, has been in complete disregard to all the mutual agreements. He also said this thing, that India is fully committed to observing and respecting the LSE and country will not accept any unilateral attempts to change the status quo along the LSE. India said Pakistan has blocked all the avenues for an effective remedy available for India in Kulbhushan Jadhav case. Anurag Srivastava again said that Pakistan is not only in violation of the judgment of ICJ, that is International Court of Justice, but also of its own ordinance. 10th Brics Trade Ministers Virtual Meeting. Piyush Goyal addressed this meeting online and he said that all nations should work. He called for all nations to enhance transparency in their trade and build trust to prevent losing their role as preeminent trade partners. Bangladesh government has said the transshipment of the goods to India using Chattogram port has taken the bilateral trade to a new height. Bangladesh's Information Minister Dr. Hassan Mahmood said transshipment of goods to the northeastern states of India using roads of Bangladesh after unloading containers at the Chattogram port will benefit both countries. Railways will use radio frequency identification tags, that is RFID, for tracking wagons, locomotives and coaches. And Dubai Airlines Emirates has announced to offer free medical cover, and it becomes the first airline to do so, this thing in the world. Air India has made it clear that no employees of the organization will be laid off, and the Defence Ministry has issued the formal government sanction letter for grant of permission, for permanent commission to women officers in Indian Army. That's a good news, and that's everything in today's discussion. Thank you very much for watching this video. God bless you all. Jai Hind.